Hey YouTube, how you going? Welcome to another video on my journey through Founder University. I know not too many people are watching these, but I do enjoy documenting it nonetheless. Anyway, in today's video, I want to talk about week 4. Pretty crazy that 4 weeks into Founder University already. Talk about a few of the highlights and then also share some information on the one-sentence pitch for my startup Oqire, as well as share the current updated iteration of the landing page. I kind of showed the Figma designs of that last week, but yeah, we've now got that live, which is really exciting. App continues to take shape, so aiming still to have the MVP released on the 15th of August. A little bit of work to do to get that done. But yeah, I'm confident that should still be achievable, so fingers crossed. Anyway, week 4. So the video or the live session content was the evolution and value of no code, and there was a presenter from Bubble. So if you're not familiar with Bubble, Bubble is a no code platform that allows you to basically build full stack web applications without needing to write a line of code. That said, what I do think is important to understand is that you still need to understand the concept of logic and the concept of, CRUD operations. So create, read, update, and delete. If you can do those 4 things in an application, then it's essentially a web app because you're allowing people to create data, manipulate data, that kind of thing. So yes, while I agree, hey, you can be a non-technical founder and use tools like Bubble, you need to conceptually understand at least what you're trying to achieve and what's typical operations are in some of these web applications. I find it quite interesting listening to that talk because I am someone who has done the transition. I've shared obviously a little bit here and there, I think, in some of these videos. I was very much your definition of a non-technical founder. I couldn't code. I'd had businesses in the past that were not software related, and then I started to move into businesses that were software related and had a previous SaaS tool, which was a task management application. And in that case, I was outsourcing the development work. That said, I was never someone who was completely non-technical, in the sense that I feel it's important that even if you are a non-technical founder, you at least understand some of the fundamentals and some of the basics. So that could be as simple as understanding what CRUD means, understanding how front-end and back-end technologies come together. And because of my background as someone who is traditionally non-technical in nature, I'm a big fan of no-code, low-code applications. I'm also a very big fan of doing as much as you can with as little as you can to prove as much value as you can. And that can extend to, building out your solution. If you can stitch it together with, Typeform, with, and some Google Sheets and some manual work on your end, great. If you need to go to a low-code platform, great. I'm all for it. A lot of my businesses started with, WordPress websites, which even if you're a non-technical person, you spend a couple of hours on a weekend, you can figure it out and you can get something up and running, which is pretty good. Now, in those cases, those businesses weren't applications that I was selling, but, they were part of my business and positioning my business. And that was kind of the start of my journey, really, to becoming someone who can code. Because, I started to dabble in HTML and CSS. I understood some of that stuff. And then when I had Task Pigeon, I couldn't build the full stack application, so I outsourced that. But I was still familiar with some of these terms. I knew what front-end technologies existed, that kind of thing. And, really through owning that SaaS solution, it pushed me to go, what, I do want to learn how to do this myself. And I've spent 3 years learning to do that. So, yeah, look, I say that because, while there's many businesses that can start and stay on low-code or no-code platforms, it might just be the start of your journey as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as someone in tech. You can use these, you can have a business, maybe it only gets to a certain height. Maybe it's not even successful, but it gives you that introduction, I guess, to the space and encourages you to go on and learn a new skill, whatever it might be. So yeah, look, nothing, super concrete really that I took away from that call in terms of actionable insight for me. I was familiar with a lot of the things that were already being discussed. But, nonetheless, always good to kind of show up and attend these things. Some of the other content, admittedly, I still need to get through some of the stuff on basically customer profiling and that kind of thing. But when we talk about or look at some of the other content that was included, a little bit of a continuation from last week around business models. And I did just kind of want to touch on a business model for a little bit because I don't actually see there being as many software as a service type companies as I expected there to be in Founder University. I'm not sure if that's just like the nature of the kind of startups that are attracted to maybe some of these earlier stage things. I know when I was, I still do on occasion mentor at the University of Sydney, but I did do it for 3 years solid and was part of their Genesis program as a mentor, talking with student entrepreneurs, and a lot of those applications were, they might have been software based, but they were consumer facing software type companies, not necessarily B2B SaaS based solutions. Well, maybe that was SaaS, but again, to consumer rather than to another business. And so far, I kind of get the sense that there's quite a lot that are like that in Founder University. I haven't stumbled across as many true B2B SaaS companies. But when you look at some of the content this week around business models, one of the things that really rings true to me is that SaaS is just such a powerful business model because it's it's built into its DNA for it to be a reoccurring revenue stream. Not only that, the nature of SaaS allows the products to change and iterate very quickly and respond to kind of what you're seeing from your customers. If I think about Oqire and where it is today, if it wasn't a SaaS model and the concept of SaaS didn't exist and we were still selling it as on-premise enterprise software, it just wouldn't happen because no one, it's going to be very hard to kind of break into that space. I shouldn't say no one, but it would be significantly harder, right? Whereas now with SaaS, hey, you can launch something that's an MVP. It might not be fully featured. It might have, some quirks to it, but very quickly you can still iterate and people see value from that. And same thing from an investor standpoint, you can start at a lower price point. You can get people who can sign up on their credit card. You can get reoccurring revenue. But there's nothing stopping you being wed to that price, right? As you add more value into the platform, as you go up market, you can increase, the price as well. So some of the other stuff that kind of talk around that kind of SaaS model is, you a bottom-up sales channel, so you're trying to get in with end users. So Slack would be a great example. Hey, people in a company start using Slack, and then all of a sudden their sales rep goes to that company and says, hey, do you know you've got 500 people in this company using Slack? Do you want the enterprise edition because you get all these additional controls, and ability to manage it better? Or you can do, more traditional, I guess, top down. So is probably larger contract value type offerings where you're, trying to pitch to, the head of some business unit. For example, maybe if you're a marketing tool, you're going to the head of marketing and you're saying, hey, our tool can offer value in XYZ areas, and here's the price point, it's $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, maybe even more, right? And that's not something you're able to sell to just one person. That requires a lot more buy-in. So I've covered a lot of these things just in my career in sales, but good to kind of see the lens from a investor point of view and just to kind of recap on some of this stuff. We also talk about marketplaces, direct to consumer. There's a bunch of other business models that were covered in the week's kind of content, but not as relevant, obviously, for myself. The other thing I think that's really important is just attending these Thursday events, and that's really what I wanted to share from my perspective of Founder University and kind of what's really added a lot of value. So one of the things that we've been doing over the last basically since we started is how do you summarize your startup in just one sentence? And I'll admit, I'll put up my hands straight away, and with Oqire, I was really struggling to make it condense. I know with TaskPigeon, my task management application, it was much easier just to say what it was because it's a more straightforward product and it was basically able to be used by anyone, but we did have a target market. Whereas Oqire, there was some terms that are really kind of industry specific, or if you're not someone like myself who comes from an enterprise sales background, you're just not going to be familiar with these terms. And I'll share what they are, but first of all, I'll share the first iteration of my one sentence or one liner for Oqire. Immediately it was more than one line. So originally the first iteration was Oqire is a B2B SaaS solution for other companies selling enterprise software that helps align sales and pre-sales teams from discovery through to demo, ultimately helping increase deal velocity and close more business. So a few of the challenges that were coming out with that iteration were essentially some people didn't know what a pre-sales team was. And if you're not from an enterprise sales background or haven't sold software before, or even if you have sold software but it was only like, SaaS based, X number of users and you didn't have a sales team, I can understand why that term would be foreign to you. The second part was discovery through to demo. People didn't quite understand what's discovery. Just to kind of provide what that is in a nutshell, if you're selling enterprise software, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 per annum, maybe even $500,000, $1 million, $10 million, $20 million a year, it's very common for there to be an account executive or a salesperson, and then a team, maybe one, maybe multiple, depending on the size of the deal, of pre-sales consultants. And pre-sales consultants are essentially the product experts who have the technical know-how to talk about how your solution will integrate with other technologies that organization might be using, and they also often put together the demonstration itself and demo the solution, because it might require some customization or extending the functionality of the core platform. So like that discovery process, building on that, is the salesperson, pre-salesperson will work with the company that they're basically pitching to understand their pain points. Someone might say, hey, I want a marketing solution. Like, that's not their pain point. The pain point isn't that they need a marketing solution. There's some underlying issue that's causing them to need a marketing solution, right? It might be that, their competitor has started to take business away from them because, they have a more effective onboarding flow, and people who use their tool get lost. They don't really know how to use it, so they're churning and going to their competitor, right? So, hey, like, the marketing tool is to fix the pain point of people not understanding how to use the application, not just they want a marketing tool. And that discovery process kind of brings up those issues so that the pre-sales consultant can then take that and do a much more comprehensive demo. Same thing from a sales point of view, like understanding, what's the budget, what's the time frame, what's the pain points, who are the people involved, because very rarely will it be one person. Anyway, I'm blabbing on, I'm getting kind of off track a little bit. That's not the purpose of this video. Purpose of this video is to kind of share this one sentence and how it's evolved. The second iteration that I then took was Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business by aligning their sales and pre-sales teams from discovery through to demo. So this is starting to get a lot closer to the mark. I really like the fact that the first part is really strong, in my opinion. Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business. So straight away, who's my target market? Enterprise software companies. What are we helping them do at a high level? Like, how do we provide value? Close more business. So if you can help an enterprise software company close more business, they're going to be making money, which means they're going to have money to keep paying me and my startup if I'm adding that value, right? The second part still had those issues of sales and pre-sales teams from discovery through to demo. The third iteration, admittedly, I'd forgotten one of the words that I was using. So this is like third iteration A, and I'll share the third iteration B, which is the correct version, in a second. Third iteration was Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business by helping them deliver more targeted product demonstrations. The part that I'd forgotten was the word enabling instead of helping. So Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business by enabling them to deliver more targeted product demonstrations. So the reason why I like this, and look, I'm not going to say it's 100% there, I'm saying it's like 85, 90% there. Still got that really strong opening, in my opinion. Oqire helps enterprise software companies close more business, right? So who, value, and then we've also got the how now by helping or enabling them to deliver more targeted product demonstrations. So yeah, look, that's the evolution basically. And the reason why I bring this up is that those kind of Thursday sessions and speaking to other founders is how I basically whittled down this kind of pitch and how I got it tighter. So if you're not attending those Thursday sessions, it really is a missed opportunity to speak with other founders and bounce your idea. Like basically everyone on those Thursday sessions is sharing their idea, talking about the challenges. So definitely encourage you to do that. I know this video is getting a little bit long, but the final thing I do want to do is just flick to share my landing page. So we'll do that. So if you remember the Figma design, it had like some blue haze background, which I've got down the bottom, but it wasn't really working just from a like design perspective when I actually put it on on the web itself. While I you could build this landing page from scratch with code. It's a lot quicker to use something like WordPress and Elementor, which is what I'm using just to build it out. And while you can add custom CSS and that, just once you start mucking around with media queries and trying to make it look right in every screen, it's just too much work. And you obviously want to move quick here rather than take a lot of time. So we've gotten rid of that. We've gone for more of a plain white with blue background in parts. And then there's another like design tweak which I'll be adding later on. But essentially this is the landing page. So you can see updated header. The logo text, still can change that. It's a 5-minute job, but do have to get round to it. And then yeah, just kind of trying to keep it nice and clean. Hitting on our value propositions, transform the discovery process, deliver more targeted demos, maximize your most valuable resource being pre-sales consultants or sales engineers. Why Oqire, right? Built by industry experts. A few more targeted kind of key points there. And then registering for the beta. So people can now drop their email and register for the beta. I haven't started pushing that too much. Not that I don't want to, but yeah, I've got other plans around getting users for the beta. So yeah, look, that's the landing page updated. Go check it out, oqire.com. And yeah, look, we'll wrap it there because I know this video is getting on a little bit. But appreciate everyone who is following along. Although there's not many of you, it's all good. These videos are really more to kind of document the history and see how Oqire develops over time. So maybe in a couple of years, and look back and kind of see what the first or second iteration of the landing page was, what our value proposition was, that kind of thing. Anyway, hit subscribe if you want to stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one.